It's a young woman explaining the 5 demands of the protesters. She also adds in one of her own that seemed to be a personal beef. She doesn't like mainland Chinese coming into her neighborhood and shopping. That seems a bit made up. I don't think that's why 1.5 million Chinese were protesting, but she does list the official 5 reasons. It's like someone who says, oh, there's 11 commandments. You have to give me more allowance or something. It felt a little silly, but she's a smart woman, and I'm impressed with how young so many of these protesters are. Here, just take a look at this.
Do you know the 5 demands of strike? So the first thing is we want the extradition law to be completely withdrawn. So Carrie Lam has not been promising to withdraw it, so we really want that, like the government to reply to that. Secondly, we want to set up an independent inquiry to the police because they have been very brutal to the protester. So we want an independent investigation and then have the corresponding outcome that is suitable in response to the police brutality. And the third thing is we want the release of all the protesters that have been arrested. Fourthly, we want universal suffrage should be implemented, which is promised by the Basic Law. So our Hong Kong people want to choose our own chief executive. The fifth one is that we want the classification of riot to be withdrawn as well, because we are not rioters, and a lot of the protests are peaceful, but then they got wrongly classified as riot. So we want that to be withdrawn as well. So we want the...
So at the moment, what is rioters, what's it defined as?
Basically, even for the 12th of June protest, the government has defined it as a riot. But then we haven't killed anyone. We didn't do any indiscriminate damage or attack to civilians like the police or the gangs did. So we are simply being very peaceful, sitting in or like rallying for our 5 demands to be answered.
I really like these Hong Kong people. I admit I sort of love the slight British accent laid over the Chinese accent. I love how young they are. I love how dedicated they are. How can you not sympathize with people like that? I support their 5 goals. How can you not? In Canada, there is support for them, but also not. Over the weekend, Canada's hapless Chrystia Freeland put out a statement on the protest, but she didn't actually condemn China. The only person or people she condemned, she insulted, she called them unacceptable, were the protesters. I'm serious. That's the only thing she called unacceptable. So Canada, as usual, bent the knee to Beijing, and still Beijing was tearing a strip off Canada for even Freeland's meek press release. When you appease a tyrant, it's never enough, because the tyrant detects something about you. They learn something about you. You are morally weak. You are an appeaser. So they can always ask for more, always demand more, always compromise for more, and they always do. You'll notice that China treats Trudeau and Freeland with far more personal abuse than they'd ever treated Stephen Harper, who was very tough on them. And China positively lavishes praise on Donald Trump, because he will not be bullied. If anything, he'll bully them. He's the toughest anti-China guy around. But remember how they treated him when he actually visited China? Here, take a look at this little video.
Our relationship with you and China is a very important one to me and to all of the people of our country. The United States, working with China and other regional partners, has an incredible opportunity to advance the cause of peace, security, and prosperity all across the world. A great responsibility has been placed on our shoulders, President, and I hope we can rise to the occasion and help our countries and our citizens reach their highest destinies and their fullest potentials. In the coming months and years, I look forward to building an even stronger relationship between our 2 countries and even closer friendships and relationships between the people of our countries. Mr. President, thank you very much.
Pretty friendly talk there, but not conceding anything, actually. He's been a tough China basher for years, and red carpet. That's how dictators react to those with a backbone. Abuse for pathetic losers like Trudeau and Freeland who talk like this.
We're quite proud out, the Prime Minister has been given a fond nickname in China. He is called Tudo, which I believe means potato, and I can't say the Chinese word, it's Xian Tudo, little potato, because his father, Pierre Elliott Tudo, was senior potato. So we feel we are off to a great start.
You know, I mean, I love Canada. I'm a Canadian, fourth generation Canadian. I love this country. But it's hard it's hard to see that kind of pathetic folly and not want to just, I can understand why China kicks us like we're a lame dog. Because how can you not? I mean, I would never kick a dog, and I don't like it. But that's so pathetic. They must be disgusted with us over there in Beijing. How could they possibly treat us with respect if we have no self-respect? I'm sorry, that is so embarrassing. And she still thinks that way. Oh my God. You know, quick point, I mentioned that there are pro-democracy activists here in Canada. Of course there are. But the troubling thing is there's a number of Chinese immigrants to Canada who don't really like freedom or democracy at all. They didn't come to Canada with the waves that came in the lead up to 1997 from Hong Kong. They're not Taiwanese, they're not other dissidents or democratic refugees. They came from communist China, they know nothing else. And look at this case. There was a meeting in Vancouver at a church of pro-democracy Chinese, our kind of people. But look at outside. Masses of government communist Beijing sympathetic Chinese surrounding the church in a hostile way. Canadian police had to go secure the church and let the democracy protesters out here in Canada. And one more thing. Here in Toronto, look at this. Flashy Ferraris and Porsches flying communist China's flag, honking their horns in support of China's crackdown against the Hong Kong Democrats. But of course, those are the spoiled, rotten kids of Chinese oligarchs laundering their ill-gotten gains here in Toronto. Imagine that, 20-something kids driving $500,000 cars, the perfect symbol of the Chinese oligarchs in Beijing. It makes them easy to root against. I tell you, I know whose side I'm on, that of the Hong Kong democracy activists we've shown you so much of today. That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant show. Every day I do a video monologue and then I interview an interesting guest. And then I end by reading my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at therebel.media/shows.